Grand Prix cars.
But in the commentary box as well. Yes.
I was going to get there. I was going to say you relearn all the scenes that we have, all the camera views that we have around the circuit, and the liveries that are unique for this weekend, because that's part and parcel of the 4 days of the Macau Grand Prix, because the attention that teams put to the liveries that are going to be just in action for this weekend, absolutely superb.
Yeah, I mean, some are familiar, aren't they? The Theodore colours you've just seen adorning Freddie Slater's car, but others, and it's perhaps more common or relevant when you get to some of the local categories like GT4 or the road sports, where they are Asian teams with that very different style. We get used to seeing European colour schemes and designs, but a feature of Macau is always that rather more garish, slightly more brash colour usage that some of the other teams employ in the local races.
Vibrant.
Vibrant is also a good word, yeah. Absolutely, and reflecting the culture of the area. Number 12 there is one of the drivers to keep an eye on in this, Rashad Al-Daheri, who drives for the Prema Racing team, and he was 8th in the European Championship this season. And number 31 is a driver with a pretty decent pedigree in this, having been twice a winner in the Formula 4 days. It is Charles Leung, and after a season of racing in Lamborghinis, it's going to be quite a culture shock, I think, getting back into single-seaters. But it's going to be really interesting to see how he gets on, because he does know the circuit.
He does know the circuit very, very well indeed. His history here goes back to 2018 when he first competed at Macau, and then in 2020 and 2021 when he took those 2 Grand Prix victories. He had a clean sweep. He was first in qualifying, first in the qualification race, and first in the race as well, and that was in 20 and 21. So it is a learning day. Many of these drivers that are taken to the Macau Gear circuit here for the very first time, they've only experienced this on a simulator, and that's all very well. It's a great way to learn the circuit, but there is nothing that compares to the yellow and black barriers about an inch from the side of your car.
Green flag shown at the end of the pit lane. That means that free practice 1 is live and 40 minutes are on the clock. And last year we discovered really that whoever is at pit out has an advantage, because you're first onto the circuit, you're first onto a flying lap, and I think there was quite a lot of lobbying from teams this year to be at the pointy end of the pit lane rather than at the pit in end. You want to get as much mileage in this session as possible. I know it sounds obvious, but it was interesting last year just how many drivers were gung-ho as soon as they got onto the circuit. Didn't really think about warming up tyres, didn't really think about a sighting lap, they just wanted to be fresh on it. And Emanuele Pirro, who is the president of the Single-Seater Commission, was here last year. Of course, he's back this year, but he gave them all a good talking to last year about the importance of just bedding in, learning the circuit before the heroics come.
Don't unlearn everything that you've already learnt just when you come to Macau. Why would you do that? Yeah.
Well, some drivers, I think, did take heed of what Emanuele was saying last year. Others didn't, but I would say this is a far more respectful outlap than we saw 12 months ago. However, it isn't necessarily about chasing the time this session, but that is going to be of interest. Sticker tyres, of course, brand new sets. You get 4 sets across the weekend, so they'll try and keep a set back, obviously, for the Grand Prix on Sunday. And it may well be that they keep another set for the qualifying session. So you use 1 set across free practice, another set across qualifying. There is a limitation as to when you get the tyres from Pirelli as well. We should also point out that it's Pirelli rubber that rather dominates the weekend. But Pirelli give you an extra couple of sets later on today, and then later in the weekend, the 4th set gets released as well. So how and when you use the tyres is also going to be quite important. We've got 5 sectors to this 6-kilometre long lap, so piecing it together is going to be important. But it's a very gentle outlap, and it's a gratifyingly slow outlap for many, without the dramas that we saw last year.
You're absolutely right. They did listen to the advice, didn't they? Because it was a very different story last year, and unfortunately there is very little room for error. So with cold tyres and the changeable conditions that we had last year, it was inevitable that we had a number of stoppages over the course of 4 days last year for the Macau Grand Prix. The good news is that, as you rightly said, David, it's a really nice temperature today. It's very very comfortable temperature ambiently, and the weather is going to get warmer and warmer as the 4 days go on. So by the time we get to Sunday, I think the weather forecast is that certainly got full sunshine all day, which will be lovely for the crowds, because the crowds absolutely pour in on race day here to Macau to get a view of a one-off annual event. It's a great event. It's going to be up to 26 or 27 degrees on Sunday.
As you say, today the busiest day with all the free practice sessions being cycled through. You look down at the first gear Melco hairpin, which is always a no overtaking zone. Just to pick up one or two of the names that we need to be looking for, Freddie Slater, who is the winner of the Formula Regional European Championship, 8 times a race winner. He drives number 11. You've got Kayashi Umagaki, who is the Formula Regional Japan champion. He drives number 28. You've got Timet Kwarchuk, who was the Euro Formula Open champion, which is a kind of older style Formula 3 category. You've also got the Euro Cup 3 champion in the entry, Matej Kolnagi, number 19, Matej Kolnagi for the PHM team. And although he's not a champion, he has had 4 race wins in Formula Regional this year. Matteo De Paolo, number 2. Now he, in the last 3 or 4 days, as recently as, has been signed up for the McLaren Driver Development Programme for next year. So another one to watch, because if a Formula 1 team reckons you're pretty good, you must be. You're riding on board, though, here with the KCMG car of Mari Boyer, who was a winner in the FIA Formula 3 Championship this season. He was a winner at Silverstone, and this gives you an idea of just how narrow the mountain circuit is. You've gone from the start line, you've gone around Lisboa, you've climbed that San Francisco hill, and now you're threading your way between the barriers on either side. And you've got to be brave to do this at speed.
Got to be incredibly brave. It is such an amazing experience riding on board. The camera shots that we get now are just spectacular, aren't they? And even the tiniest little corrections that we just saw from Mari Boyer is a big moment. Just a little tiny correction on the steering wheel, because there is no room for error on this part of the circuit.
Going up towards Donna Maria, which is ever so slightly banked as well. The white lines on the inside, car parking spaces, and then you accelerate out of there down towards the Melco hairpin, and at this point the road absolutely drops away. It's a steep climb up the hill coming out of San Francisco, but it then drops all the way down through Black Sands, out of Fisherman's, and then into the R bend, which rounds out the lap. Enzo Deligny is looking good in terms of sectors and may well offer up the target time. He does, a 2:25 being the first flying lap of the session. That's going to be whittled away, I would have thought. Matteo De Paolo goes through and he does a 2:28, so they're relatively gentle laps, but I think we'd rather have those than heroics right now.
Absolutely.
We just need people to learn.
We said today's a free practice day. It is, but there is also a qualifying session towards the end of the afternoon, and it is for these cars. So too for one of the local races, one of the sort of crowd favourites, the Macau Road Sport Challenge. They will be qualifying at the end of this afternoon as well. There are 2 qualifying sessions. Everything else is free practice, so it is about learning. We say it's a learning day for so many today. This is where you can really, if you use this to the maximum potential that you can have, you can get a really good feel for the circuit this first session of the day. That's all dependent on not having any stoppages.
Yeah, true enough. And of course, when it's a free practice session, the clock ticks on anyway, so
yes,
you're losing that time. And that was, like, again, one of the dramas last year, that they were short on running and then were so desperate to go quickly when they could get back out again. Anyway, enough of last year, because so far so good. You're riding now with Matteo De Paolo, who I was talking about a moment ago. 4 race wins in Formula Regional in Europe, at Misano in the Hungaroring race, Red Bull and Barcelona circuits. He was also victorious at. Last year, De Paolo 5th on the road, but was disqualified post-race. So he's got the circuit knowledge, and he's perhaps due a bit of better fortune. Number 11 then is Freddie Slater, who was here 2 years ago in Formula 4. He was here last year in the Grand Prix itself, but crashed out on the last lap. He had a go, said he had to try something. It didn't work, but he said, I'd never have forgiven myself if I hadn't had a go.
You have to. You have one opportunity, and the eyes of the motorsport world are on Macau this weekend, aren't they? It's such a popular event because it is so unique.
Yeah.
there are no longer many circuits in the world where you have such a world-class event, an FIA associated event as well taking place. This is really with more than just a nod to the history of motorsport.
It is. I mean, the circuit has not changed very much. The start area has moved, but you can't change the circuit much because the roads are the roads and the buildings are the buildings. They're not moving. The beauty of the circuit is it remains as big a challenge. Cars have got quicker, cars have got wider over the years, but this section coming through Mandarin and on down towards Lisboa, fantastic section, and you'll get an onboard shot over the weekend, I'm sure, but as a driver you've got endless barriers on your right hand side, and basically, although you see there on the camera a corner, you're basically aiming for a gap in the Armco, and the Armco of course stretches the other side of that on the escape road, so you're always trying to work out where that gap in the Armco is. You sit low so the barriers kind of tower over you. It's a really daunting part of the circuit, so to make a pass going into Lisboa actually is far harder than you might expect. We're almost done for the first 10 minutes. Enzo Deligny is the fastest, Freddie Slater is second quickest, and on the subject of Lisboa, what's going on? Big squeal of tyres, and up the escape road goes 26, was that, to Sanapodin for Puvasak, who was a double winner in Formula 3 this year. Number 18 has been noted for crossing the white line at pit exit, Takuya Suzuki, so that might be a finger wag, it might be a fine from the stewards. We'll wait and see.
It's always slightly disconcerting in the commentary box when we hear the squeal of tyres, but you don't actually see it on camera. You think, hang on, what's at the end of this? Fortunately, that was an escape road, which is used quite a lot over the course of these 4 days. It's a very useful feature of that particular corner, because they are approaching Lisboa. A great overtaking part of the circuit, but also an incredibly quick approach to that corner.
Now that's the run coming down out of Black Sands through Fisherman's Bend onto R Bend. The order on the timing tower headed by Enzo Deligny, and up to the end of the lap here comes Taito Kato, and the French Formula 4 champion of last year comes over the timing line and goes up to 8th fastest. So good lap that by Kato. Still Enzo Deligny is the fastest. We're down to a 2 minutes 20.421 now as the lap times continue to tumble.
They do. Freddie Slater is in second position. He did just have a personal best in Sector 2 and Sector 4. So for Freddie Slater, car number 11, this might be a lap worth having a look at. Bear in mind that we are in free practice, so it's not going to count towards anything towards the qualification race grid or anything to do with the competitive aspect of this weekend, but it does give us a good insight and a good benchmark for the weekend, doesn't it?
Yeah, the fastest lap in the Grand Prix last year was a 2:19, and now we are in the 2:19s courtesy of Freddie Slater. He's on a 2:19.911, not a Porsche time that, but Freddie Slater then goes to the top. Perhaps no real surprise given his prodigious pace in Formula Regional European Championship this year to be the champion, but he is then the fastest by half a second from Deligny, and then Rashad Al-Dakhari is third. It is Charlie Wurtz fourth ahead of Ian Nakamura, and then Charles Leung sixth fastest.
Which is impressive, isn't it, for a double winner, but in an F4 car around Macau. And when we had Formula 4, F4 as the Grand Prix cars for the weekend, I think you and I made the comment on a number of occasions how well suited they were to this circuit. I'm really looking forward to having F4 back, and certainly for a double winner, what you can carry into the next single seaters up, if you like, the Formula Regional cars. That's quite impressive. I'd like to see him doing really well this weekend. Really was.
He's certainly got the track knowledge on his side. These cars, just to make the differentiation, all being run by different teams, whereas the Formula 4 World Cup is one team, one operation, operating all the cars. So when you've assigned an engineer, everybody effectively comes out of the same team. So it is Slater, Deligny, Al-Dakhari, the order. We've just had another improvement. Kanato Lee gets himself up into the top 6 as he goes over the timing line. his previous lap, is still charging along quite happily. He's going faster and faster in the sectors. He's in the last sector of the lap now, but he's already done 2 absolute bests. So Freddie Slater heading towards the line. 1 or 2 trying to get a toe. There is Slater in number 11. Oh dear, our first drama and our first red flag of the car part of the weekend. We had a stoppage in the bike free practice, but I'm afraid that we've got a car in the wall, and it looks as though Yamakoshi is the driver, so a wheel ripped off. That's been quite a moment, and it's on the gear circuit, isn't it? As in, it's on the mountain section. So red flag, and the clock will carry on ticking. We spoke too soon about people being well behaved.
Yeah, we did. It was a sort of, oh hello, the car's on the move with only three wheels on the wagon. So yeah, necessitating a red flag. There's no question about it, is there? When a car is stricken, you can't really do a knife snatch of a vehicle. It's got to be made safe and get things going again. But as you say,
it's not a crash, it's the wheel, or unless he's hit something already, because the wheel parts company.
It does.
Now, Yamakoshi was 11th fastest, and he just done 2 personal bests. So it's not like he's come out of the pits and that's not been attached properly. He may have touched the barrier and that broke something that caused the wheel to come off, but...
You wouldn't imagine it would be that flimsy, would you?
This is Macau, and anything can happen.
Yes.
Depends what you hit and how, and the angle. But that's
and the angle, yeah.
A very odd breakage.
It is very strange. However,
sorry, you were saying, sorry.
This is costly because things. Everyone was showing such good respect for the circuit and getting some proper meaningful laps in, which is really good news. On board with Mary Boyer threading around the circuit, and with the cars going onwards and inwards into pit lane. It is always quite incredible to watch just how quickly recoveries can be made. There are cranes right the way around the 6-kilometre circuit here at Macau, and the ability to snatch a vehicle, put it into a place of safety and get the session back underway very, very quickly is always pretty breathtaking, has to be said. Right, we're getting another view of this, what's going on now. I think it's already going slowly, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's him parking.
Yeah.
But curious as to how it all started.
Exactly what happened there. Yeah, I'm not sure we're going to find out the answer until maybe we can get to speak to people over the course of today. So now they'll line up down in pit lane. They'll also have a chance to assemble their thoughts if it's the first opportunity they've had to experience the gear circuit here at Macau for the first time, rather than on a simulator. And the team's keen to make sure the cars are all behaving in exactly the way they should be, so a chance for a quick check over. But this is a chance to collect a few thoughts, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and report back to the team. The fact that everybody has to pit means you're sort of not losing mileage against anybody else, but you are losing the opportunity for another 2 or 3 laps. As you say, the recovery operation can be swift. It rather depends, though, whether the car has to be put onto a low loader and then brought back to the pit. That's the time-consuming bit, sending a vehicle out and the load up, rather than just being able to move the car behind the wall. And I think where it is, it will have to be a recovery vehicle.
Yes, yeah.
So the session suspended for the moment as you look at Matteo Colnagi's PHM racing car. Colnagi, as you see, part of the Red Bull junior team, the programme he joined during the course of 2025, and he was the Euro Cup 3 champion. So there, with that 3-wheeled car being put onto the low loader, the end of the session effectively for Hiro Yamakoshi, the Evans GP driver. The Japanese driver managed by Nicolas Todd, his Macau debut, and it's been a troubled one thus far. Yamakoshi raced in Formula Regionale in Europe, as well as the occasional GB3 race this year, 9th in the European Formula Regionale Championship.
It is interesting as well that over the years, particularly recent years, maybe the last 10 years or so, that drivers don't compete solely in one championship. They're trying to compete in multiple championships. The first driver that I was sort of aware that was filling every weekend with racing somewhere was Lando Norris, because he was competing in the UK and competing in Europe as well, and standing a chance of winning a championship in both. Now more and more drivers are just keeping it to every weekend as a race weekend. That's pretty punishing schedule, and you have to be pretty disciplined to keep that up, don't you?
It's punishing financially as well.
Yeah, it is,
and add to that the fact that many of them do a winter championship by way of preparation.
Yeah.
You know, we're rounding out this year with the Macau Grand Prix being for Formula Regional cars. They've had a European Championship or a Japanese or an American. But in the winter months, there's the Oceania Championship that used to be the Toyota Racing Series. You've got a Middle Eastern Championship, and people are doing those by way of preparation for their, if you like, main programme.
Yes.
But they're all important championships in their own right.
They most certainly are. And as we get ready to get that car recovered back to pit lane and back to the paddock as well, and the investigation to find out exactly what happened there. I didn't see damage on that corner of the car when they were putting it on the back of the recovery vehicle. So it is still a little bit perplexing, that.
Well, there is the car, and you're right. There's no damage I can see. So it looks more like a breakage than hitting a barrier. However, Charlie Wirtz gets good to go. 6th fastest in the times at the moment for the Austrian, the elder of the two brothers, Oscar Wirtz in the entry as well, and he's been a Formula Regional champion. He won the Oceania title 2 years ago. Retired from the Grand Prix though that year, and then went to race in FIA Formula 3. Oscar Wirtz making his Macau Grand Prix debut. Number 20 there you've got, which is Enzo Ye, making his Macau debut as well. Finding one or two more down the pit lane. Teo Nile, the F4 Spanish champion of 2 years ago. And he was excluded from last year's Grand Prix, you might remember, because he stalled and the team fired up the car rather than it being put into the pit lane and fired up from there. So he was excluded from the race, but he at least doesn't know the circuit. So we've just nudged past the halfway point.
Yeah, because this is a 40-minute free practice session. Everything else pretty much today is half an hour, isn't it? So these cars get 40 minutes out on circuit, and a very valuable 40 minutes it is as well. 9:36 is the resume time for the session, and we are very, very close to that. So with 19 minutes and 20 seconds remaining on the clock, this session will get back underway. The only problem is they now have to get those tyres back up to full temperature, and this is very often the point at which we get another stoppage because they push too hard too soon. They resume at the kind of speed that they were doing before the red flag came out, but the tyres have cooled a bit, so let's see how cautious we are on this outlap. This is going to be quite an important resumption.
Yeah, it is. One or two of the teams there sort of managing when the cars are released. Many want to be on their toes and get out onto the circuit straight away. Other teams having to now wait for a gap in the traffic before they release cars. And I would say there's a little bit more commitment to the outlap than we had at the very start of the session, backing up the point that you made.
I think you're right, yes. Yeah, there is. Because the adrenaline is... they haven't been in pit lane for too long, have they? So they are still pretty much in gear circuit mode. Pushes it too early, too soon, and we get another stoppage, because it is important, you know, when the clock continues to count down. And with only 18 minutes left on this, and it's a long circuit, 6 kilometre circuit, it's every minute on circuit in free practice really does count for setting themselves up for qualifying at local time at 10 to 4 this afternoon for half an hour.
And as you were saying earlier on, it is not an easy circuit to learn, unlike modern European circuits, because it's a street circuit.
Yes.
You can't really do even a track walk, because you've got to dodge a lot of traffic, unless you get up at stupid o'clock in the morning and go round when it's not too busy. But largely, you know, it's not a track you can walk round.
You can run around it if you are very early in the morning, can't you?
4:15.
And then you do realise that it does go up and down quite a lot.
It does. It does. You also realise what a wally you look with your head torch running around at 4:15 as people are staggering out of the casinos, looking at you thinking, tourists.
Jet lag.
Yes. You're right about it going up quite steeply, but it also does drop down at the end of the lap, and that relief as you come out of the Malco hairpin is quite something. Donna Maria there, I said earlier on in the session, is just ever so slightly banked, and it is. And then the drivers make their way down to the Malco hairpin, which, as Alan I think touched on earlier on, always, for car purposes, has a permanent yellow flag, no overtaking, because as cars have got wider and the lock is such, there's absolutely no way you can even think about overtaking there.
No, it's quite a feat later on today when we have the cars out for the FIA GT World Cup. It astonishes me that the cars even go around the Malco hairpin. It is an incredible feat. Okay, there's no overtaking, they're single file, but big wide cars, current GT3 cars making their way around. The width of the circuit, which I think goes down to 7 metres up at Malco hairpin, and then widens out to 14 metres in width by the time they get down to the start-finish line. It's quite a feat, that's for sure.
So it's going to take a lap or two before we start thinking about representative lap times once more. Jin Nakamura pushing on from 4th in the times, and Nakamura is another driver that is worth watching, having been 10th in the European Championship this year, moving to Formula 3 for next season. He's also done a bit of sports car racing in the Le Mans Cup. This is the run down to Lisboa, where the road does narrow actually. It's sort of 4 lanes wide for everyday traffic, but when you get to the corner itself, you lose some of the inside because the curb juts out, partly to help slow the cars down and give you a bit of a clue where the corner is, but it does narrow. Now you're on board with Freddie Slater, and he's on the money here. Take a big deep breath, because this is Freddie Slater with the track to himself, threading his way between barriers, between the wall, and Slater fastest thus far in the session, 15 minutes on the clock.
It comes with a fairly high level of expectation when you are a driver that is on a roll, achieving so much in your career, from Ginetta Juniors for Freddie, from Ginetta Junior and dominance onwards, and then to come here to Macau with quite a lot of expectation. There's a few drivers with big expectations on them for this weekend, and it's always fascinating to see how a young driver absorbs that kind of pressure and press attention and fan attention as well.
Yeah, the spotlight on Freddie Slater has been very bright, really, as you say, since he was so good in Ginetta Juniors. Murray Boyer, you've just been riding with, coming out of the Malco hairpin, down now through Black Sands, through Fisherman's, and this is where, as you can see, the road really does open up. It's much, much wider, 2 lanes per direction for the traffic. Then you've got the very fast R-bend to round out the lap, and Murray Boyer then returning to a Formula Regional chassis from Formula 3, goes across the timing line, and Murray Boyer then looking good, as now Teo Nayal goes up to the top of the times. We've got the lap times to a 2:19.4. Murray Boyer goes 3rd, so Slater, for the moment at least, knocked off top spot.
And Dellini will have a look at as well, because has gone purple in the 3rd sector. That's the middle sector. Is about to complete the lap is Enzo Dellini in car number 5. At the top of the times, it is Niall with a 2:19.438. Having a look at Dellini with that overall best sector in sector 3, 1 sector to complete, and goes top. So with a purple in sectors 3 and 5, a 2:18.608 is the best time so far. Since we've restarted the session, we're up a gear now, aren't we?
Yeah, the commitment is there. A little bit of debris flies, but yeah, there's a lot more urgency about this as the drivers push on. Evidence there that you can get a tow coming out of Mandarin. The end of that run all the way down to Lisboa. Dellini then threads his way through the traffic, and Dellini goes faster again, possibly helped by that tow, because he's done another absolute best within the first sector. So Enzo Dellini, who is in the 2:18, as Alan said, fastest man of the session thus far, makes that steep climb up San Francisco Hill. Next one to go over the timing line there is Taito Kato. So at the moment you've got Dellini, Kato goes second, and then Niall third, Slater down to fourth, Boyer and Nakamura round out the top 6.
So it's Enzo Dellini with the fastest time of 2:18.608.
Charlie Burt there, sorry, just up to fourth fastest, so good lap.
And Freddie Slater with 2 purples on this lap. He's purple in sector 2, purple in sector 3. Not even a personal best in the first sector, but Freddie is now really pushing on in the second and third sectors, waiting for the number 11 car to complete sector number 4. Does so, doesn't go personal best. So 2 overall ultimate best sectors, and then 2 not even personal best sectors.
No, it's going to be interesting to see how he pieces it all together. Teo Niall goes quickest now, 2:18.1. So Freddie Slater is in the last sector then in the Primo Ram Theodore Racing entry. He is down to 7th in the times. Even if it's not the absolute top time, he ought to be able to get himself up the order. He does to go second then, and he only misses out by a 10th of a second. So that was, as you say, 2 absolute bests, but no personals, but enough to get him up the order to second, and it brings him back into the mix. So it is Teo Niall for Freddie Slater, Enzo Dellini third, Taito Kato 4th, Mari Boyer 5th, Charlie Burt 6th, Yin Nakamura 7th, Charles Leung is 8th, Renato Lee 9th, and Rashid Al-Bukhari is 10th.
Right, now, are we allowed to say this time maybe Freddie Slater means business, because he didn't even do a personal best in the first sector last time. This time, even though he went up to second place with 2 purple sectors out of 5, he's gone purple in the first sector. So we keep an eye on this one. He's done a 24.750 in the first sector, is coming up towards the completion of sector number 2. All right, that was the sector that he went overall best in last time, wasn't it? And this time he doesn't even put a personal best.
Yeah, he's 2 tenths down on that best this time through. So another up-down kind of a lap for Freddie Slater there. Taito Kato puts himself at the very top of the times, and we're into the 2:17s now. So Kato doing a very, very impressive lap.
Yellow flag at turn 3 being indicated on the timing screen.
Okay, and there's the answer. Dellini has gone up the escape road. So Enzo Dellini at Lisboa has gone straight on, and now he's going to try and get the car back in the right direction. He's out of the way at least, so the green flag is currently being shown until he needs to try and rejoin. So anybody on a flying lap now is going to have to be mindful of that car. I was going to say Taito Kato with that really, really good lap time at the top. And he's quickest now by 3 tenths from Teo Niall, as the crane hovers over Lisboa, ready to be used should a car need to be hooked out of the way. We've got just under 10 minutes of the session to go, so we're into the last quarter of a session that really has rattled through very quickly.
It really has, yeah, and a huge amount has been learnt. Make no mistake, in 40 minutes, okay, they've probably only had about 30 minutes of meaningful running on the circuit, but a huge amount by the end of this will have been learnt to be discussed with the teams heading into qualifying this afternoon local time. 10 to 4 is when it gets underway, and Freddie Slater goes top, 2:17.450. So this time he sort of mopped up the overall best in different sectors, didn't he? And as all of that has added up, it's all pieced together. 2:17.450. Number 11, Freddie Slater, back to the top of the times.
So good effort that, and it's taken him 10 laps to do that. There's the yellow flag at turn 3, which I suspect is because Dellini is now trying to rejoin. We might be able to see that just out of shot, but Slater goes through. Green flag the other side of Lisboa as he goes through San Francisco. Now makes the climb up the hill. Did I tell you it was a steep climb, that bit, Alan? And over the brow, and there is Dellini, who is being able to rejoin now. Credit to Race Control for letting him do that without stopping the session, because that was something that we did have last year. Car up the escape road, session stopped. But Enzo Dellini, being covered under a yellow flag, gets himself back in the right direction, rejoins, session remains live.
It's so less frustrating for everyone to keep the momentum of the session going, isn't it? Yeah, really, really good shout, that.
So 7 3/4 minutes are on the clock. Number number 7 goes through there. Murray Boyer down to 7th in the times. That yellow flag you don't need to worry about, because that's the permanent one warning you that you're not allowed to overtake going into the Melco hairpin.
No, we get worried if that ever comes in.
Yeah, exactly right. The consequences after that.
Yeah, it doesn't bear thinking about.
Yeah. And even allowing for that, you can guarantee that somebody will make a mistake at the hairpin, and if they are at the head of a queue of cars, you can expect a track blockage. It kind of comes in either road sport, GT4 or touring car terms more than others.
Yes, absolutely right. 2:17.450, 7 minutes left on the clock. Having a look at Tao Nile as well on this lap, because 2 personal bests, yeah, it all adds up to be second at the end of that lap. There was a purple and 3 personal bests. So Tao Nile, car number 6, second quickest. Freddie Slater is quickest, and we've got under 7 minutes of this session remaining. We've got a yellow flag at turn 10 as well. We've got the car just over there to the left of your screen. It's offline, but it needs to be recovered.
Yeah, I'm a bit more worried about that one. I think that will be a stoppage,
Right.
sadly. We'll try and see who it is as well. I couldn't pick up a number on that car.
No.
It's slightly hidden. This might tell us a little bit more. Is it an off? That doesn't want to turn. That, I think, has brushed a barrier, which might be why it doesn't want to turn. But the driver, in fairness, getting it out of the way, because it is, as you rightly say, offline.
It is.
Murray Boyer up to 3rd fastest, by the way, and getting a view on the inset on the timing tower of Freddie Slater hard at work. He is the fastest. So keeping one eye on the times and the other on the Marshall's gantry opposite us, just in case a red flag has to fly with that car stranded.
Did show that a green flag was being shown at turn 10 now, so
right.
Yeah.
We've hopefully got it fired up and going. Number 5, receiving outside assistance, Enzo Deligny. Now that will, I assume, be
down at
Lisboa when he was trying to turn the car around. So outside assistance would, well, it can only be a Marshall, can't it, to help get the car back in the right direction?
One would think, yeah.
Okay, we'll wait and see if anything comes of that. The stewards will look at that after the session, we're being told. Freddie Slater, 2 absolute bests again. Could we get somebody in the high 2:16s before the end of this first session of the day?
Quite possibly if it carries on like that.
Yeah, exactly, because he is
Yes.
now 3 absolute bests on this lap, and this is Freddie Slater, and look, he's got the road to himself, nobody to get in the way. He's coming then now down through Fisherman's, heading towards our bend. This is where it opens up and you sort of breathe a big sigh of relief. You've got through that daunting narrow mountain section of the circuit. Slater absolutely on it as he comes then now down towards our bend. Still nobody to get in the way. He's about to break the beam, and as he goes across the timing line, it's a 2:16.742. Bang on, well done, Freddie Slater. So a 2:16.7. Right, that's impressive, but the margin is even more impressive because he's now 9/10ths of a second quicker than anybody else. 9/10ths.
Almost a second quicker than anyone else. And if you bear in mind, this is a quality field this year. To have a second on everybody else almost is spectacular.
He's fractionally down in sector 1 of the next lap, but only by just under a 10th. So Freddie Slater, I think he is going to get traffic on this lap that's going to then scupper the plan. But that is a real hat tip to the quick Brit to go so well so early on in the weekend. Marker laid down.
Tato Kato is going rather well on this session as well. He's got 2 purples in sector 3 and sector 4 as well. So have a look for Kato at the end, currently 4th and looking to climb up the order, waiting for Kato to complete this lap. But 2 purple sectors, sector 3 and sector 4. This could be a good one.
Very good. He's gone faster than Slater, can you believe it? A 2:16.412. Now that's 3/10ths quicker than Slater, so that means now that it was briefly 1.2 seconds first to third. Canalton Lee has just gone up into 3rd in time, although he's still in the 2:17s. Evan Gilter now goes 5th. I know the cars are getting lighter on fuel and tyres are getting warmed up again, but these times now in the 16s are massively impressive. And Murray Boyer is the next one to throw his hat in the ring with an absolute best in Sector 3.
We've got a really good field this year, haven't we? There are so many drivers that are potentially going to take the crown at the end of Sunday and win the 72nd Macau Grand Prix. And this is only free practice. What's it going to be like in qualifying this afternoon? 40 minutes of qualifying to look forward to. And if free practice is this exciting, well, Murray Boyer has just done another overall best in Sector 4. So 2 purples, Sector 3, Sector 4, and goes second. So this is Kato, Boyer and Freddie Slater are the top 3.
Well, yeah, and Slater, having been what we thought was the absolute hero, as you say, down to 3rd, and he's done one absolute best on this current lap. He's just gone across the timing line, doesn't improve, 2:16.742. So Freddie Slater not doing an improved lap there, and he's got time for one more. Yeah, the flag will be out the next time he comes across the line. We are now looking at less than a lap time left in the session as Enzo Deligny goes up to 4th quickest at 2:17.016. But yeah, Taito Kato, a 2:16.412 is the best lap of the session. That is mighty. And don't forget that Kato as well is somebody that, although he has raced Formula Regional cars, the Japanese driver that racing under a French licence, he has not been a winner in the European Championship. He's not been here before. That's really impressive.
It really is, yeah. An awful lot of time could be spent on a simulator running up to this weekend, but there's nothing like it. This is only a race circuit for 4 days every year. Freddie Slater has put in a personal in Sector 2. Murray Boyer has put in a purple overall best Sector 3. And Enzo Deligny has put in a personal, an overall best in Sector 1. So this is all to play for. And bear in mind, this is free practice.
Yes. Appetite whetted, isn't it?
Good, isn't it?
Freddie Slater, 2 absolute bests now. Enzo Deligny, as you say, the absolute best in Sector 1. That's going to be a real flurry of shuffling, I think, as the cars come over the timing line. The checkered flag is imminent. The army of marshals that are on the gantry are looking at the clock. And the flag imminent. Murray Boyer then now, he's going to be the first of the young drivers to take the flag because he's in the last sector, as you see. So let's see whether or not this is going to be an improvement. He's done 4 sectors, 2 have been improvements, 2 have not. So if you piece it all together, is it enough to put the Spanish driver to the top of the times? He goes through, and the lap time was slightly slower than earlier on. So no improvement for Boyer. Teo Nail goes up to 3rd on a 2:16.671. Here's Freddie Slater coming up to the line, Alan.
Certainly is. It's been a joy riding on board with Freddie Slater during this session as well. You see just how hard they work and go second. So 2 overall best sectors, Sectors 2 and 3, a personal best in Sector 5. That all stitches together to give a lap time of 2:16.456, and that's good enough to be second after the end of free practice.
And so Deligny goes by, lost out in the last sector, so the lap was better at 2:16.731, 5th fastest. We need Kato, though, to come and take the flag yet. And Enzo Deligny's ultimate classification in that might depend on what comes out of the system and the outside assistance investigation. But Taito Kato, got to say, has been very, very impressive in that. This is one of the beauties of the Macau Grand Prix, that you have this circuit which very few people have raced before, and it really is a leveller. But here's somebody that is new to the place and has adapted very well. And I think as he backed off on his last lap, his last sector was slightly down by half a second. He's hit something. That car's crabbing. He's hit something. Look at the suspension at the back of the car. The right rear is slightly out of kilter. Kato, having done an absolute best in Sector 3, I reckon has brushed the wall there. And he's bailed. He's not taken the flag, as you see. He's come into the pit lane. But it's crab-like, isn't it?
It is.
He's hit something.
Yeah, good spot. Very good spot indeed. That is the car that finishes free practice 1 for the FIFR World Cup. Top of the times, a 2:16.412, with a little bit of a question mark over the back of the car as it's rolled onto the weighbridge directly opposite our commentary box, just at pit lane entry. So the technical team rolled the car on. it's weighed, they all step back, and those the weight of the car is taken, those bits of data taken at the technical check area at entry end of pit lane, and then it makes its way down pit lane. But yeah, a little bit of a question. I'm not sure we're going to find out the answer to that anyway, are we?
No, the ART Grand Prix team will have a look at it, but as I say, it looks as though he's brushed a wall, just slightly deranged the suspension. Well, I reckon that was a pretty good start to the day. I don't know about you.
What a great first toe in the water for cars on circuit for 2025. Absolutely superb. The Kia circuit is such a challenge and such a joy, such a treat for a driver to enjoy, and such a challenge as well. But that was ultra competitive in a non-competitive session.
And then back out again at 10 minutes to 4 local time for the first qualifying session. By which stage, of course, they'll have been able to have a think about this and look at some data and make 1 or 2 adjustments. The track will have more rubber down as well, so it's going to have a slightly different feel. Qualifying to round out the day for these cars is going to be mega.
Absolutely cannot wait. As David said, local time 10 to 4 this afternoon for the qualifying session, and that will be over 40 minutes as well. Confirmation of the times. It's Kato in car number 23, Tato Kato, with the top time at 2:16.412, and oh so close in second place, Freddie Slater. A joy to watch those onboard shots as the session went on. Mari Boyer, the Spanish driver, in third place, car number 7, and the rest of the order all filed down. All of it really does count for nothing as far as the competition is concerned, but later on today that will change.
Yeah, 1 or 2 other drivers making their debut. The British driver Risa Seaworthen stepping up to Formula Regional, and a bit disappointing to Sanna Polin from Pibersac, double winner in Formula 3, a long way down. But you could argue that that wasn't the run plan to be a hero in that session. It was mileage, it was about learning. The heroics can come later on in the day. It's going to be fascinating, isn't it, at the end of the day, to compare the order of free practice with the order of qualifying and see who